Good afternoon, all, and a warm welcome to this afternoon's webinar, Future Trends in the Hospitality Industry, moderated by our very own dear Assistant Professor, Mrs. Delcy Joseph, live with Mr. David Naidu and Mr. Ashish Shetty. Participants may put down their questions in the chat section for Mrs. Joseph to address at the end of the webinar. Over to you, Mrs. Joseph.
Thank you so much, ma'am Kainaz. A very good afternoon to our speakers, our dearest principals, staff members, and our wonderful students. We start the webinar with two gentlemen. Okay, we have Mr. David Naidu, Director of Human Resource. We have Mr. Ashish Shetty, Director of Quality Assurance, both belonging to the best address of Mumbai, where they say indulgence meets sophistication, the St. Regis Mumbai. Thank you so much, Mr. Naidu and Mr. Shetty, for taking time out, because we know how difficult your schedules are and how compact and tight they are. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Congratulations are in the order for Mr. Naidu. I have heard that you have been ranked number 5 by the Hoteliers Web as a powerful 25 Human Resources 2001 list. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think it's a great achievement. In fact, as I'm about to read, your profile, it's such an extensive, there's so much to read, so much to cherish for you. So I'm going to go ahead and read out your profile for our students. Mr. Naidu started his career after completing Bachelor in Social Work from Nirmala Niketan. Thereafter, he worked as a social worker for a year and a half. Post which, his zeal to lead in the field of human resources led him to complete his further education from the Maharashtra Institute of Labor Studies, which he followed up with a post-graduation course in personnel management from the University of Mumbai. A thorough HR professional with over 20 years of experience, he has worked in diverse industries and has experience in performance management, compensation and benefit, organizational development, training and development, industrial relations, and administration. He has handled multiple regional and divisional projects. He was awarded in the past HR Leader in the year 2010. In the year 2015, he was awarded Hot 100 Leaders of Future by Hotelier India. In fact, his association with the hospitality industry has ranged from Radhakrishna Hospitality Services Limited to Le Meridian Mumbai, Western Mumbai Garden City, where as an institute, we've had constant connect with him. Later, an international stint at St. Regis, Vamoli Island, Maldives, a pre-opening property that he helped set up. He's currently the Director of Human Resource at the St. Regis, Mumbai. That's quite an achievement, Mr. David Naidu. Thank you so much for being here today.
My pleasure.
So we have an anxious bunch of students, hoteliers in the making. And with the current scenario, there's a lot of, anxiousness, not only in them, parents, faculty members and staff members, for what's happening with their future. They'll pass out maybe next year, second year's a year and so after that as well. So, with your experience, how do you see the job scenario in the future?
Okay. First of all, Delcy, thank you so much for having me here. It's great interacting with your students. In fact, my first job, which was Radhakrishna Hospitality Services, since then I had been associated with you. I used to come for campuses since then. So it's great associating with you. Yeah. So since then and now, and rather in the entire, experience or the professions where we are into this, we have never faced the situation, to be very honest, and everybody knows about this. I think no one has faced this kind of situation where things are totally different. We have not learned about this, managing a pandemic like this. And it's for us every day, it's a learning. The first wave came in, it was really a very disaster situation for us in terms of cash totally stopped. We didn't know what to do. We waited for a few months, and then we started getting pressure on our payrolls. And that is where we started even going for a pay cuts and job cuts as well. It was something which I had never done in my past, which we had to do. We had to let go sizable about 120 people from the company, and obviously with a note that as and when the situation improves, we will definitely get them back. So things were sorted at that point of time. Then, business started picking up, and again, then the second wave came in, and then again we were really hit. We thought, the pandemic is going to go, and the situation will be back. We'll have the business back, and obviously we will look at hiring people. But unfortunately, things didn't happen what we expected. But similarly, if you know our industry, well, when I talk about hospitality at large, it has different segments. If I talk about St. Regis Mumbai, we are a business hotel, and we have about 70% of our guests who are travelers, who are expats, who travel for their business purposes. They come and stay here. Having said that, it's totally zero as far as international travelers are concerned, because there are no travelings happening. But the industries have started thinking differently. We were a business hotel. We cannot sustain now because there is no travelers. We do not have a demand for it. So we have started looking at staycation businesses. So things are improving, things are getting better, but not to the tune what we were doing it in 2019. To come back to 2019, it will, the researchers or the experts say that it will take another 2 to 3 years to get back to that 2019. Having said that, job market is critical. To be very honest, I don't want to give you a rosy picture that things after you pass out maybe next year or following year, you will definitely get a placement. No, it's not going to be that easy. But looking at the current situation, with the vaccination coming in, with the kind of if the behavior of the people living in India also improves, that they start taking their vaccination, things get better. We are sure that the world is also looking at India in terms of tourism. It's one of the best country for tourism. And obviously, with a lot of businesses, infrastructures, business corporates being in India, I'm sure that the other countries will always look at traveling to our country. So if things go well, which we are a little optimistic that things are changing, because we could see the buzz coming back in our hotel industry. But obviously, we don't have the international travelers, but we have the local travelers coming in. We could see that we are not able to cope up with the existing manpower as of now, and we want to hire people. So obviously, if I say that we wanted to hire people, it would be the first preference would go to the people who have already lost their job with the current situation. So I'm sure that all the industry, all the hotels will do that first. But having said that, there are also, if I talk about people losing their job, it is not the entry level, it's not the line staff, it is basically the executive and above who had lost their job, even in the other hotel industry. But with business picking up, we are a little optimistic that yes, things will change. Maybe next year, the batches which will be passing out, I'm sure that there would be demand for campuses coming up, but not to the tune of what used to be in 2019. But yes, there would be because but we see that when the lockdown was just lifted, the business really boomed up. People wanted to go out. People wanted to still, get out of their houses and stay in the hotel. But still, if you see, there are still a lot of restrictions now. If I talk about restaurant, it is open only up to 4 o'clock. Post 4 o'clock, the outsiders cannot be, they cannot walk into a hotel, and we are not allowed to service them. And even on a weekends, rather Saturday and Sunday, it's a full day. We are not able to do anything for them. Just imagine if the government lift up the ban on those areas. I'm sure the business requirement will improve. Now, at the moment, malls are not working, and if you see the malls, there are about 20 to 30% of restaurants which are occupied by in the malls. So obviously that generates businesses for that will generate business, and obviously there will be a need for people, and they will definitely look at hiring people. Yeah, so Delsi and the entire team, what I would only say now is we are a little optimistic, but we really do not know how the situation is going to be. We are talking about the third wave, which is going to come up. We really do know how it will behave. Again, it all depends on us as a citizen. We do our best in terms of getting vaccinated, following those norms. Even the experts, even from WHO, the experts, when they are talking, they always talk about this. If the people start behaving, by following these, the COVID norms, by using proper norms, avoiding social distancing, and taking the vaccination, the third wave is not going to be as fatal as wave 2. Yeah. So basically, we are all looking at that. We don't want that wave 3 to come and impact us again, because we had gone to a very bad stage. I'm even talking about the people who are actually working, had also sacrificed a lot in terms of the pay cuts, and we really have seen those bad days, and we don't want that to be repeated again. So we are a little optimistic that things would be different, and if everything goes well, I'm sure the opportunity in terms of job looks positive. Yeah, but I would not say that it would be as good as what used to be every year in terms of campuses and hiring which used to happen. But I would say that at least there would be 25 to 30% in the next few months. The hiring would start, and subsequently, maybe in a year or two, I think.
That's a good sign.
Sorry.
That's a good sign to know that there's a light, across the tunnel.
Correct. There is always a light after the tunnel. So we are all optimistic that things would be changing, and we all want our businesses to be back as before. And in order to sustain that, this industry is not going to get away with people. It's a highly people-oriented industry, which cannot be automated. And everybody would definitely, yes, things would be working differently in terms of, the mindset of people now has to change in terms of how do you multi-skill yourself. It's not that, for example, an F&B may be working in a specialized or a fine dining restaurant, has to be very flexible in, when you be working in a banquet, that kind of flexibility we need to develop among the people, and that mindset even the students has to be prepared with as of now, because everybody has learned a lesson, be it an employer, be it an employee, has learned that if a worst situation comes, am I ready with the second skill? Yeah. Am I able to do something better than what I am doing now? Am I so flexible in acquiring those skills and being an open-minded? It's not that today the skill is not an issue. You can always learn a skill. It's only the mindset. Why should I do that? I am a fine diner. I am a kind of a butler. And why should I be doing a housekeeping job? Or a housekeeper, why should I be doing a, kitchen stewarding job? Today, I mean, if you see overseas, people work in that same mindset. People there are so flexible because it's not a full-time job they work, and they work also on an hourly wage job, and whatever is available, they pick it up. But in India, it's totally different. They feel that this is my job and I am confined to that. The compartmentalization which is there, the people works in silos, which needs to be. I mean, that is something, a learning which this pandemic has given us. So things, when the job comes, basically, even an employer would be looking at, are you flexible in doing any kind of job? Are you willing to learn and grow in the company? Or are you just, rigid to one skill, right? So, because, once you know that, you had gone through a situation, if that situation come back again, as an employer or as an, the hotel, they look at people who are having that kind of skilling ability, and they are the one who's going to be surviving and growing in the industry as of today, if you see. Yeah.
I believe this is the same. I heard this earlier as well from the ITC Central. We had gone there and the general manager had given the exact same words that you mentioned, that how internationally there's no compartmentalization of this is my work and this is housekeeping's work. And he said, but when I've come to India and I'm transferred here, I'm shocked how F&B would not do housekeeping's job, and vice versa. I completely agree to what you say. I think the need of the hour is to be multi-skilled and to be flexible is what I get from what you're speaking.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. So that is where multi-skilling, I mean, that is where the message is for all the students there. I mean, be optimistic. It's not that something which you learn once you come from the institute, you are multi-skilled. No, I mean, but at least you are a master in one skill, but be open, have an broad-minded that, if an opportunity is given to learn, or be proactive and say that I want to learn, right? That is what the industry will look at. That will be the competency which will be set now. Are you flexible? Are you adaptable? Are you able to, yeah. So that is something which will be an additional competency which will be added in, in every hiring as of now, especially in our hotel industry.
Okay. I'm so glad that you mentioned, a ray of hope for our students, that how our industry, to a certain limit, you can't have everything, have a robot do. You'll have to have, humans there. And then that's where the job. So when I personally feel that when you have the Indian, especially hospitality, that's such a people culture, you can't replace. And that's something I think is good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when we talk about hospitality industry, we always talk about connecting emotionally to the guest. Correct?
Absolutely.
If you see, even today, IT has exceeded their expectations also in terms of machine learning, in terms of AI learning. They try to read your mind. So if you go into a Google, if you check one day today some product, so next time again if you go into Google, you will see that something which you were searching that previous day, it pops up. So they have read your mind that this is what you are looking at. So technology also has advanced, but technology cannot be replaced by emotions, right? It's only people who can connect emotionally. And that is why this, if you talk about luxury, if you talk about hospitality, it is only the people who can connect with people. And this industry, the jobs will not going to die. As far as the business is there, as far as people wants to eat, to survive, or people can live only with air, then hospitality will go. I mean, as long as people will need food to eat, and has a ambition or and hobby, or always wanted to learn and grow and travel, this industry is always going to support their their ambitions, their goals, their wishes. So this industry is always going to be there. So people will not like to sit in the home and work. Business, yes, has shrunk today because of the virtual. The world has become virtual now. Instead of traveling and going to a place and conducting a meeting, just sitting in their cabin or sitting in the from their home, they can conduct meetings. So why will they travel? The mindset of people have changed. Obviously, when that is also having an implication on your cost. So any organization, maybe in the next 2 years, 3 years, will always look at making their, the profits, what they have lost in this last 1.5 year, they will always look at making it up. And that is how, and that can only be done through all this cost cutting, options. The traveling, if the traveling is reduced, obviously our industry gets impacted. So I mean, the industry also has to wisely think how do you shift your business strategy and going back and getting the business in, because you will always sit and think that your international travelers will come and fill your hotel. So it's not going to happen. But having said that, the business, the hotel, the owners or the hotels cannot sit and say that we will not do anything. Things are changing. If you see today, all the luxury hotels, the 5-star hotels, never ever thought that they will do a home delivery.
I'm tempted, Mr. Naidu, every time I follow Marriott's on Wheel, and I'll be honest, middle class people, but when you see the Marriott's on Wheel on Instagram and the kind of promotional activities, you do get tempted that this one time let's just splurge. And so I think they're doing brilliantly well in terms of marketing, because even as someone who I probably wouldn't have gone to a 5-star hotel, but just looking at that advertisement, I'm absolutely tempted to give it a go.
I'm sure. I mean, our revenues also increased. The numbers of covers in terms of deliveries has also increased. But that's the way it is. We cannot be sitting in and saying that the guest will come here to dine, which unfortunately it's not happening because of restrictions. But with that restriction happening, if we all keep quiet and say that let's wait till they come, by that time we have to shut down the hotel. So these are some of the opportunities which are coming up. I'm sure that a lot more will be coming in terms of sustaining and living in the industry. I'm sure because of that, the employment will keep on generating. It's not that there were times where the total restaurant was shut. Now they are allowing, the food deliveries, takeaways are happening. So still, there are people who are working. There are people who are, if you see, you go and look at the job websites as of now, there are still a lot of openings which are there. But if you see, almost about 3 or 4% would be for the freshers, if you see. But employment is there. People are still looking out for skilled people. So I'm saying that I'm stressing more on skilled people is because it's not that every Tom, Dick and Harry would get. But yes, if I know that the market has become very competitive, I should also become equally competent. If I do not improve my competency, you will be nowhere. So previously, there were a lot of people doing a lot of jobs. Now, there will be less people doing that bigger jobs. And that is the fact of the industry which is going to be there. There are old hotels which had a lot of headcounts in the company. And that became a practice, or they said it became a norm that no, this is required for that kind of operations. But the pandemic has taught that no, even with a lesser people, you can have high productivity. And that is where all industry is now going to look at improving the productivity per individual. How can the same person get the additional work done from the same, less number of people? And for that, we cannot have the same people. We wanted to have people who has the ability to do more. One is the mindset, second is the skill, and third is basically, you have to be very optimistic. If you keep on cribbing, if you keep on saying that, it's not my job, things would be different. So it's basically, this industry will now look at skilled people who has the potential to grow at if I will look at a fresher coming from an institute, every industry will look at, does he have the potential to do that plus 2 jobs? If I look at, a culinary guy from an Indian, can you also do some other cuisine? Does he have that potential? Does he have that liking? Does he have that inclination that he wanted to become a multi-cuisine chef? That is where the need would be for the future. Similarly goes with every profession. It's good in a way. It's good for a student or a new entrant or an employee that he learns a lot, different skills, and he can sustain. Tomorrow, one skill is not available, one job position is not available. He is trained, and it looks fancier. It looks difficult when I'm saying that a housekeeping guy will also do an F&B job, or an F&B will also do an housekeeping job. It looks difficult, but the fact is this happens overseas. There are managers. When I was in Western, we used to have productivity measures which used to happen. We used to call FTE per rooms. The ratio per rooms. In India, we used to have almost about 2 plus 2 per room. Every room, 2 head count.
Okay.
Or even it goes, if it is a luxury hotel, it goes to about 2.8 to 2.9 per room. But I was doing a study with, in Australia, there was a 4-point hotel. There, what was the ratio? It was 0.8.
Oh my God.
0.8 per room. And that is how, these people work. Then when we checked with them, how do you manage with 0.8 FT per room? He's telling this is how it is. When there is a occupancy, high occupancy, even my managers get down onto the floor and start working. So here we have supervisor standing in one corner and just giving a direction. And there are, there are maybe an employee who's working there for the last 5 years, 10 years, is again standing there, and there is an IT who's there, maybe give the work to them. And even a full-time employee, a rank and file, also supervises the job. That is how it happens in India. But there it is not like that. If a person is working in F&B and there is a high occupancy which is happening, there is a check-in which is happening, and F&B guys goes and helps in delivering the luggage in the room. This is how it happens. A manager does the rooming, and that is how they manage with that, that FTE. And that mindset is not there in India. And obviously, it's not easy to change that, but sooner or later that will happen. And that is where we need to be prepared. The students also need to be prepared that this is where the future is going to be. It's going to be very competitive. You got to be very, you have to be multi-skilled and, be ready and be adaptable to any kind of situation in the industry. And that will help you grow. It's not that, you become a multi-skill, so you are there in that level doing all the job. That is where it is seen, and that is where you grow in the organization. So if you talk about a general manager is supposed to know everything, right?
Correct.
A person who, even a management trainee who comes in, is being moved in all the department. Why? Because he should know and understand and learn how other department works. And a successful general manager, or if you see today, at the age group of 30, 35, a person becomes a general manager because there is a demand once. And second is basically the people today are very ambitious, and that is where they'll go and learn all the areas, and they are sure that, if anything goes wrong there, he knows to give a solution, because he understands that. A general manager, if he doesn't know what is happening in engineering, he will fail. If he doesn't know what is happening in HR, he is not going to handle the entire hotel. If he doesn't know something about the F&B, I'm sure that, I'm not saying that he should be an expert there, but at least he should have an overview about F&B, about rooms, about, what's happening in laundry, and what's happening in engineering, and what's happening in finance, and what is happening in HR. That is how a successful general manager are created. So
I was saying that, in fact, I remember meeting the hotel manager at St. Regis, I think 5 years back, and he mentioned the same thing, that as a general manager, he needs to know that the water tank of the hotel, the capacity of that, even that it's something related to maintenance, something as small as that. He said, if I don't know that, and even if my duty managers don't know that, and they're future general managers, then that's something that's very, that's something that they lack in. And you have to know all these small things. You have to know everything. You can't just restrict yourself.
Correct. Absolutely. So, that silos, we say that, if people work in silo, this is my job and that is where I'm happy with. I've been paid for that, so I do only that. That is the problem in today's generation. Yeah, I know that, we have the millennials who really want to, they are very aspirational. They want to become a general manager. They want to become a manager out of the college, and within the next 2 years, they wanted to be a head of the department. Yeah, I mean, it's good. The thinking is good, but what are you doing for it? You cannot be just doing what you're supposed to do and you will become a department head or a general manager in the next 5 years. No, it will not. You have to come out of your comfort zone and learn something which you do not know. If you have to dirty your hands, go and dirty your hands. If you don't, you will not learn. And if you really wanted to grow, that is how you will grow. And we do not expect that if you go and learn something or move out of your comfort zone, get into an area which you do not know anything. We are not saying that you will be doing that forever, but at least you will master that. You will have an idea about how to run a property, or rather than just doing a service. If you see how to manage that restaurant, it is going to be one. It will help you make a great manager or a general manager. It can make you a great entrepreneur. Tomorrow, if you want to start your own business, you being in a company, working in a hotel, if you start learning and understanding how that entire hotel runs, you can start your own business also. You can become an entrepreneur. No? I mean, there are so many people who venture into it. So if not becoming a general manager, but at least become an owner of your own business. So there are so many success stories which are there. So I think it's just a mindset, change. And I think you will, the result will speak for you.
So, Mr. Naidu, somewhere I read, an interview by some gentleman who mentioned that, with a lot of online classes going on, students should really pick up a hobby or a skill, that they can develop. It could be as small as, maybe photography, a computer skill. How important do you think is that?
Well, I think it's very, very important because today, so I would say even the music, something which has nothing to do with your profession as an hotelier. That's an hobby which will help you, calm down. It will make you, this is an industry. I'm sure that everybody by now know that this industry is an industry which has a lot of stress. If you do not know how to manage your stress, there could be, the people sometimes goes to an extreme where they do not know how to manage themselves, and there is somebody else who has to pitch in to manage him. It could be a doctor, it could be a psychologist or whatever. How do you manage yourself in terms of your stress? Music is something which will help you. It is also becoming an entertainment for your team. So you have your team. Just imagine you are an expert in guitar, for example. You know to play a guitar and you can play some nice music, entertain a team, and you are an head of a department. You have about 35 people working with you. You have seen that under stress. How can you make that a lighter moment for them? Yeah, just imagine one evening sitting together and that head of the department entertaining your team. Just imagine there is a stress level which goes down. There is a team building which happens, and you become a role model also for your team. Simple thing like that. This could also help in managing yourself and others, right? And at the same time, your productivity is going to go high. The research have said if your well-being if you take care of your well-being, the stress level automatically goes down by 80%. However stressful your job is, but if you know how to control it, by having some stress busters here and there. As a manager and as a leader, you know that your team is going stressed up. Just identify just about 5 minutes, 10 minutes here and there. One evening sitting together and relaxing really improves your productivity the next day. Right? So we in fact had seen here in our property the first time when the pandemic hit. We had about 60, 70 people staying in the hotel, doing all sort of work in the hotel. They cannot go home because of these, the security issues in terms of contaminating others. So being in the service industry, we wanted to put them in a bubble site, making them stay in the hotel. But how do we reduce that stress? Because they already have that they are away from the family, right? And they are doing all sort of work confined into the hotel. So the hotel, what they started, there are a few of our managers. In fact, one of our chef is a great, plays music. So one evening, he just said that, okay, let's meet together, and he started playing something. And then we had about 3 or 4 of them who was a great singer. They started playing and singing, and this guy was playing. So it became a habit throughout. I mean, it became a ritual that every evening at 6:30, all used to assemble there, play, dance, evening. And next day, they are back in their full energy. I mean, we have really seen that working. And if that becomes a continuous, it becomes a habit, I'm sure that, the productivity will increase, the stress level will go down. Yeah, but we require one person in that. I mean, we always cannot get an external person to do it. When you look at the company, it's a cost. But those little things, if you can build it as a hobby, and that hobby, you can use it for at your workplace, I mean, make it work wonders. It could be music, it could be drawing, it could be, there are some who wanted to become a stand-up comedian. There are certain people who have the skills. There are every individual has certain skills. Utilize them, hone them, and get it. And if you're talking about online courses, I mean, there are a lot of online courses where you can acquire them if you do not have one. And if I can talk, when I told about the chef used to do all this activity, he, in fact, during the pandemic time, he did an online course on, he had some passion about it. He knew, but he was not very hands-on into music. So he actually enrolled himself and he did some online courses and he acquired those skills. And he used this in the property. I mean, hats off to that guy. I mean, it was really working like a miracle, during this time, evening time. I mean, I also was a part of that session in few of the occasions, sitting there, just looking at the people, just venting out, relaxing in the evening. How great fun it is, and if every individual has that skill, it will be wonderful, So pick up. There are a lot of things which are available online. So it's rightly said, and it's a great tool.
Correct.
Especially now during pandemic, you don't have much work. Utilize the time to do all this. It's fun.
I remember one of the videos going around of our ex-student Amanpreet. He used to rap very well. And we were so proud when I believe there was an employees day or something, and he was just walking and rapping and everyone swaying. So I was thinking employees look so happy. Otherwise at work, you're always so conscious and, your mind is occupied. But when I saw, and, you don't have, like you said, you don't have to call someone from outside as a company. You have someone within you and their talents stand out. So I completely agree, and I've seen that at your hotel. So I can understand from where you're coming.
True. Yeah, Amanpreet is still with us.
Yes.
Keep on
So
using.
I was just writing down pointers, from what you were speaking. And what I gather is how you spoke a lot about flexibility that, we have to develop, we have to have adaptability, the willingness to learn, not have a blindfold, that this is what I'm paid for, this is what I'll do. And there's nothing going over and beyond that. And just, a very perfect example that you said, housekeeping and F&B. To be honest, we've all trained in all the 4 departments, so we shouldn't really restrict ourselves that, I'm not going to do that. And that openness should be there.
True, absolutely.
All right. So, Mr. Naidu, I don't see any questions as of now. Any parting ways for our students? Anything that you'd like to give them a word up, because the competition is going to be extensive when they reach there. So any, anything that you'd like to give, a one-liner that how to be, job prepared, something like that.
Yeah, basically, what I will only say is all this while we have been looking at students, we go to the campuses, we see what all they do in your respective areas. Now that the things have changed, I think you also have a lot of time. Maybe I didn't, as you rightly suggested, go for some online courses, acquire other skills. Say like if there is an F&B, somebody is interested in going into a bartending, start enrolling yourself, start reading books, and be prepared for that role which you are looking at. I also mentioned about multi-skilling. Multi-skilling is later, in the sense you should be open. But if you're looking at, say, if you're looking at an F&B, read everything about F&B. About food, about wines, about spirits. Start reading a lot, because you all are freshers. Whenever whoever is coming to the campuses, or you are approaching the hotel as a fresher, they will not expect practical experiences from you, but all they will look at, are you sharp enough with your theoretical skills? All right, you have time. I mean, I'm sure that there would be time when you might have passed out, but you do not have job. Rather than getting frustrated, use those time for some advanced courses, some online courses. There are a lot of online courses which are available. Just make yourself competitive enough to what is required in the market as of now for your specialization, right? As I said, one is your specialization, second is your willingness to do any other work, right? So I think don't get disturbed, don't get stressed. It's no fault of yours. It's the situation which has made people to think, and if there is a shortage of job, it's not because the industry doesn't want, because there is no need as of now. But that need will obviously come over a period of time. So be prepared always. So once you have completed your studies, maybe there would be, as I said, that after 1 year there would be a job opportunity, but not 100%. It would be about 50%. But that 50% of the students feel dejected, demotivated, and they said, "Oh shit, I have done so much for this 3 years, and I'm not getting a job." Please consider that it's not your fault. It's an external factor which has made things differently. So you be optimistic that things will change over a period of time. Just keep on enhancing your skills. If you get an opportunity to still continue as a trainee somewhere, please do it, because that would at least keep you in touch with your job and in your industry, and keep your your professions. I would give you an example of myself. I don't know how it will relate to you. I am talking about 20 years from now. When I graduated, when I graduated, I had the same problem, though the environment was different, but I did my HR and I didn't have a job. I had a family, and I'm actually, Delcy, I just shared about my experience. I started from social work. I did my graduation, then I worked for 2 years in social work, then decided, no, I should go for my, full-time into an organized sector. And that is why I did my personal management from my ILS. By that time, I was married, but then I still chose to do it because for my future, I cannot be living in an NGO working for all my life. But after I completed my 2 years of full-time course, I didn't have a job. Wherever I went, everybody was asking me, do you have an experience? I said no, and I have to turn back. You know what? One job came in. I was told that you have to keep a security deposit for 2 months. All right. And I didn't have that much. I didn't have the security deposit to pay. What I did is I told them, okay, I will work for you. Don't pay me for 2 months. Keep that as a security deposit. And why did I do that? Why did I do that? Because wherever I had gone, everybody was asking me, do you have a job? That is what I realized that, okay, if I have a job with me, any job, at least I can say that, yeah, I am employed. I am working. I have hands-on. I know what is happening in the industry. And that is how I started my life. With no salary, with no job, with a family behind me, right? And that is where, I worked for almost about 4 months there, 2 months without salary. Next 2 months, I had the salary, and that is where was a stepping stone for me to get a job into another industry. And that is where I excelled. Okay. So today, whatever I am here, it's because there was some sacrifice which was done in the past, right? So I would have, actually, I was stressed out. Married, and you won't believe I had children then. Because I left my full-time job, I changed my profession. But before that, my entire family was there. So I did my further education. My children were there. My wife delivered that time. And just imagine the kind of stress I would have had that time. No job, 20 places I had gone. I was rejected because I didn't have a experience. Okay, obviously I was a fresher. But then things changed. So because there were certain skills I had, that is how you get an offer. And that is where, and then wherever you have gone, wherever you have joined, you started learning more. Whatever you do, you try to learn something or get yourself pushed into an environment where it is difficult. Come out of your comfort zone. And when you come outside of your comfort zone, that is where the learning happens. If you are sitting in your comfort zone, I'm happy doing what I am doing, you will be doing what you're doing only. And you will not learn something different. And that is where, the confidence will be lost once you lose that job, and then you have to look out for something else. Right? So I would only tell you that be optimistic, take every opportunity to learn, just don't sit idle. If you get an opportunity to pursue your hobby, do it. Okay, so that will help you in your profession, and use your hobby in your profession as well. That will help you. Just gave you an example of a musician. It could be anything. It could be a social work. I use my social work skills also in my profession wherever I work, and that also gives a lot of pleasure and satisfaction. Right? So try to use your hobbies, pursue your hobbies, and try to use it at your workplace. I'm sure something, somewhere or the other, it will help you. Okay.
So we have a question or rather statement by Arshan, and he says, "Good afternoon, sir." And there were people who were saying that before COVID, that machinery would take over, or AI would take over a lot of jobs. So he feels that, you know, maybe since the entire hospitality industry, I would say across industries, you know, that every industry is hit. So he's saying that, do you feel that indirectly COVID has benefited, that now, you know, maybe companies don't have that kind of money to put into mechanics or, you know, AI, and then rather use, you know, humans for that?
No, it's not. It's no. It's not that the industry doesn't have money to do it. Industry is putting, if you see Marriott in terms of technology, it's big. But the technology is used to assist human being uh, to serve the guest. Simple example. Do you know how you can exceed the expectation of a guest? How do you anticipate, the how do I put it? A guest is coming to your hotel. Do you know what their needs are, what their expectations are, or what their likings are, what their do's, what their don'ts are? Can technology help you? Yes, it can. A person coming for the first time in your property, do you know what are the likes and dislikes? You know, technology can help you, because in Marriott we have a program where the guest is staying in my hotel. I know what the likes and dislikes are. I can enter in that system. That system is accessible across Marriott. 7,000 hotels across the globe. A person who is staying in US stays in one of the Marriott property, is has a problem in that hotel, or try to understand their problems. Maybe it's like he wants to sleep. He doesn't like a feather pillow, for example. That person staying in that hotel identified that, he entered in the system, and that guest happens to travel to Mumbai, in St. Regis, Mumbai. I can look into the profile and see what that guest is liking and like. Before the guest could come, I can prepare that room for him without a feather pillow, or if he wants a hard bed, or he wants a soft bed, or a hard pillow, or a soft pillow. He doesn't like, he's allergic to certain food. I am aware about that before. And the guest is coming in here. Guest is wowed, coming for the first time. He's never been to Bombay. He's never been to St. Regis, Mumbai, and they know what are my likes and dislikes. How does that help me? Through the technology. So technology, any good hotel group will definitely invest in technology. What I said is interaction cannot be taken over by machine. The emotional connect can happen only between two human beings. A machine cannot connect with you emotionally. All right?
Hand in hand.
Yeah. So, yeah, technology is required. Technology will be there. Technology has to be invested. There is no two ways about it. But at the same time, you will not, it cannot be replaced by people. People is doing a separately different job in connecting with the people, right? So it's a data which is collected through and human interaction with a guest is fed in the system, and that system will help some other property also to understand that person. So that becomes a link, right? So that kind of investment is required, and it will happen, and it will continue to happen. It must, and industry must invest in that. Yeah, because if you see a technology in Marriott, it's gone to the next level. Be it in any department, be it in HR, be it in F&B, be it in culinary, be it in engineering, be in security. The IT plays a very strong role. To ensure that there is a consistency, there is standardization. Technology helps that, right? So, yeah.
So Arshan, I hope that answers your question, that technology does not replace manpower, but it goes hand in hand with that. We have another question from Arshan itself, that since sir, since you spoke about additional courses or skills, he was asking that as a weightage to his CV, any particular course that you could advise him, or do you feel that if he masters English as a language, communication, will that be enough to crack the interview?
Okay, so one is basically, which is the position you are looking. So Arshan is, if I may ask, Arshan is from which department? What is his area of preference, or has he decided or no?
Arshan has gone for training in F&B at
Okay. For example, let's assume
F&B.
let's assume that he is in F&B. All right. What I am saying is, if you are taking an additional course about what are spirits, what are wines, what are the different maybe a bartendering. This is somewhere closer to F&B. If he has, these are some other additional courses which you will not get in your a course which you are doing in hospitality. Okay, I am talking about you will not get. I am not saying that you will not get basic information. I am talking about going into the depths, learn more, about that profession. And apart from that, which you are talking about the soft skills about obviously the communication, the maybe a public speaking course. How do you speak to the people? Public speaking is something which an F&B guy should be well confident of. When he's talking to people, talking to the guest, he should be very comfortable, very confident. Plus, learning another language, a foreign language, would definitely help you. Because today we are working in an international hotel. There are a lot of guests who comes from different countries, right? Maybe learning some international language would definitely help you. All right, it could be more useful for a front office guy. Okay, a different language, learning different international languages. This sort of would definitely help them. Understanding your body languages. The communication doesn't happen only through your verbal communication. So it is 80% of the communication happens through your non-verbal communication. It's how you behave yourself, what you wear, your posture, the tone of voice, the way you speak. It's basically try to understand. How do you portray yourself is very, very important. These are some of the soft skills which you can learn apart from just communication skills.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Naidu. I hope Arshan, you have picked up a lot from that. We have Kushal, who has something very, interesting. He says, I'm thankful to the principals and and the faculty members for organizing the webinar. I'm also grateful to distinguished guest, Mr. Naidu, sir, for sharing his experience. This webinar was very informative and learning. His question is, in the extreme that he says that if and when he graduates, if there's no job available, what would you suggest as a plan B? And if a student wants to start a startup, with the whole cloud kitchen, I believe he's talking, or maybe anything else. So he's saying that in the F&B business, okay, would you advise him or to go ahead, and how should they even begin with that?
For a startup?
Yeah.
Okay. See, startup, obviously, you need to require an experience. Maybe, I would suggest if there is nothing, maybe have friends, have your colleagues who is in the industry. Maybe you can use their skills. Maybe get hold of some IT guys also, because now today business happens through you have internets, basically how do you create your websites and do business. I think this is the industry. This is an area which is, we started with e-commerce. Now with e-commerce, everything is, even the food is being sold through e-commerce. I think for a great startup, you need to have a great infrastructure in terms of resources. I mean, if you want to open your own kitchen, you know that you require a strong production team, a culinary team. You need to identify those people. You need to find out if you have any seniors who have lost their job. Find out. Create a list of people. Connect with them. And obviously, you need to go and look out for. You need to have an investment. Obviously, if you are financially strong, or otherwise there are banks who are waiting to give the loans now. If you have an idea of how do you start your business, and obviously marketing is very, very important, and you need to have your own marketing way. How will you? I mean, obviously you do your IT and the internet use, but that is not going to be all. You need to have your own contacts. Say, for example, you wanted to start an office catering, and there are a lot of. This is a time where this business will definitely work if you are very strong in your hygiene. You follow all the protocols of hygiene in terms of ensuring that with the COVID guidelines and all that. If you are confident that you have all the infrastructures and informations about that, you need to have your own team. And I'm sure that there are a lot of offices which are going to open now. Will definitely look out for meals. Say like office meals. I see a lot of people. Say if you look at Bandra Kurla complex, right? It's full of offices, and I still know that there are hotel industry offices which are based out of Bandra Kurla complex. It's not a hotel, but the hotel offices have outsourced their food to some private companies, because there are central kitchens which are working. They supply, foods for this offices. If you know the companies like Sodaxos, they are into catering, office catering. You can start small time into it, and I'm sure that these are the industries which will definitely flourish. Obviously, you need to have a great skill. I mean, if you do not have a great resources in terms of your kitchen team, obviously, if the food is not good, you will not be able to serve. And obviously, a great network of people, and obviously your service team. So this will definitely help you in making a great company. Yeah. So I think that's a great opportunity. That's a great opportunity for you. There is a great opportunity for people like you who are really interested. If you are out thinking now that yes, you can. This is one avenue which you can start with. Kushal, I think you should start working out from now in terms of getting an IT support, in identifying your resources. Maybe check with your seniors. I'm sure that there will be a lot of people who are unemployed and who also has that business sense. Create your stakeholders. Maybe if you do not have that kind of money to invest, identify your partners. Maybe I would say from your batchment only, identify about 5-6 people who can come together and execute this idea. And I think this could be a great idea. I mean, tomorrow, you're not sure that you'll be getting a job. But yes, if you get a job also, this could be a backup plan even for 2 years, 5 years down the line. Create a plan and execute it. I think this is a great idea. It will definitely work. for people like you now. I mean, young people is more creative. They come out with different ideas. And as I said, food is a business which is not going to stop. People will definitely eat. People will definitely like to move out and try different things. Only thing is how innovative you are will make a difference. Think of different option of how to delight a customer. Just sending a meal to his place is not going to work. You have to think out of the box. How can you create a concept or create an experience to a customer? At his workplace or at sitting in his house, how can you create an experience for that person? Will make a difference. You have to have a mind sitting together, debating and coming out with different ideas. And I'm sure that will work well. The only thing is how differently you think and the passion to execute it. It's a great thought. I mean, at this point of time, you're talking about it. It itself is it's an achievement, I would say. Think over it. You have enough time. Study. I think if you go into an online course, online courses on how to do a startup, I think there are courses available. Start working on that, and I'm sure that you will really make a difference.
Thank you, Mr. Naidu. I hope, Kushal, you're happy. I can see his reply. I've actually noted down, Kushal, for you quite a lot of things that Sir mentioned, how you need to have a resourceful kitchen team, your hygiene standards. We all know in today's day and age, hygiene is extremely important. Social networking important, technology, because, everything's happening online. You should identify your target crowd and then decide what you want to do, but be extremely innovative, because I'm sure more than me, your generation is on Instagram and online, and they know how everything is so unique. Smallest of the people are starting businesses, whether it's accessories, bakeries, coding, design, and but most importantly, study hard so you get your basics right. Is that correct, Mr. Naidu?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Naidu. I don't see much questions, ahead. So thank you so much for giving your time. And I can see all our students seem to be really happy and at least a positive mindset, for the remainder.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thank
and
you.
all the best for all the students. We will definitely see you sometime.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Naidu. I'll never forget when you used to come because I was not there during the earlier stint, but when I just joined the Anjuman, you used to come, from the Western. And I still remember that because I never interacted with you earlier, but I remember the auditorium. So the third students may remember the auditorium, and only Western was one property that would have the entire thing set up. There would be candles lit up, and there would be, the whole poster, banners. So for me, I was like, this is the only hotel that does that. And, you are putting in an effort to get the best students. So I think if the team is doing that, there's a leader, that's Mr. Naidu, going, through to put all that together. So I think you're exceptionally good at what you do, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really remember all those stuff. We wanted to create an experience. Before you come to Western, we want to create that environment of Western, which is, a wellness brand. So we want to create that environment, and that is where, wherever we go, we used to do that. So it was nice. It was fun, and we used to get a great feedback from the students as well, looking around, feeling all the five senses when they come in. So that is what we wanted to give that kind of experience. So thank you for that. You recognize that.
Thank you so much, sir. We have Mr. Ashish Shetty, our Director of Quality Assurance. Mr. Shetty, you there?
Hi, Delsi, I'm here.
Sorry, I will take your leave. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Naidu.
Okay.
Mr. Shetty, Ashish Shetty is a dear friend.
Hi.
More, you know, I'm not able to see you. Okay, done. So Ashish Shetty, sir, a big thank you. In one message, you agreed for this webinar. You roped in Mr. David Naidu. So thank you so much for never saying no to anything. I want to just say that out loud. We have Rukhshana ma'am here, our staff members. Ashish Shetty, sir, is someone, and I think this is the first time I'm calling him sir, so I'm feeling awkward, but just doing that. Yeah, but you never cut our calls from Anjuman. It's always picking up and saying, I'm in a meeting, and you just cut. And there's never been a time that you randomly cut, okay, which is really sweet of you. And a big thank you. Genuinely, I mean it, and you know that I mean it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So yes, excited. I think a lot of students have logged in.
Yes, yes. Since you mentioned you would like to introduce yourself, I would like you to start with that and take it on.
Yeah. So hi, good afternoon, everybody. And I was listening very curiously to David while he was talking to all of you, and great insights, to get it from an HR leader. However, in my case. So just to let all of you know, I think we've interacted on previous occasions. I'm not too sure because normally I'm always interacting with Anjuman students. So it's great to be here. So as this particular property, so I've been here for the last 7 years now, and with the St. Regis Mumbai, and with the St. Regis. Prior to the St. Regis, it used to be a Shangri-La hotel. So yeah, I've seen a little bit of the Shangri-La hotel as well in this hotel. And been part of training and quality, to be specific, so all throughout. It was a little challenging in the earlier part because we had a lot of changes. Shang as a brand exited, then we became St. Regis, so lots of change that we saw in the hotel, and that was a kind of a challenging phase. However, then we somewhere close to 2016, we saw a lot of stability coming in when the Marriott took over, and of course from there onwards it's been far more stable and a very exciting kind of a journey. So yes, quality at the same time, because a lot of standards and a lot of a big hotel. So managing all of that with so many restaurants, 395 rooms is something that we keep driving towards, and that's been our key focus. So like I promised, I would actually share my own introduction. So with prior to joining this hotel, I used to work with the Taj Group of Hotels, and I was never a training or an HR resource. I used to be a part of food and beverage. And then, so with the Taj, I used to work with the Taj Lands End, and then of course got transferred, moved to Bangalore, worked with the West End Hotel, also moved to Goa and used to be a part of the Vivanta Taj in Panjim. As part of food and beverage, yes, I started off with the Taj at an assistant restaurant manager level, and then gradually moved up. And eventually when I went to West End, Bangalore, and the Goa property, I was the assistant food and beverage manager. So yes, about 8 years with the Taj, and it was again a long stint at the Taj Lands End in Bandra, and then of course with West End in Bangalore and Goa as well. But it's always nice to take a transfer and move out of your comfort zone in Bombay. So I think the greatest learning that I actually got was back in Bangalore and Goa as well, because the market is very different. What we see in terms of customers, clients, guests who come across to our hotels, it's a very different scenario. So not very typically like what we experience in Bombay. So yes, it's always good to move out of your comfort zone and grab this kind of an experience. So prior to joining the Taj, I actually started my career with the Marriott, and I used to work at the JW Hotel in Juhu. That's where I started off. So the JW Hotel in Juhu those days used to be one of those properties where it was really buzzing, primarily because it was a newer hotel. But yes, I used to be part of the room service team, and I also was given an opportunity to open Bombay Baking Company, which is there. It's like a you get your tea, coffee, sandwiches, and everything across the counter, and very very popular for their breads and their bakery products. So yes, was there at Juhu, and that's where actually now that I feel. So I've come back to the Marriott again. However, was a student of the Taj College, which is in Aurangabad. So that's where I graduated from, and so that's in fact that was the first stint that I stepped out of Mumbai as a city, because for my education, and went on to living in a hostel, living independently. So yes, that's where got lots to learn in terms of what student life and hostel life is all about. Otherwise, lived in Bombay all throughout schooling, and was typically very protected being at home. But yes, that was an interesting phase as well. So yes, that's about it, and glad to be here, because I'm going to talk to you a little bit, like David has given you an insight about more to do with what the industry is as on today in terms of jobs. However, I'm here to talk to you about a little more of how things have changed in the last 1 year, and what is it that hotels are doing currently, so to keep up with standards, hygiene, and that's what we'll discuss. Right. Shall I start with how things have changed same time last year?
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, so just to give everybody a background, what happened same time last year is we all went through a lockdown somewhere in the month of the last week of March, and very very unfortunate that we had to tell students to call off internships. They were all sent back. We were all home, and it was more like a work from home kind of a situation for most of us. So hoteliers working from home was a little surprising, because we never thought that we would be actually talking to colleagues and conducting training sessions virtually. We never thought that would happen. So just to give you a background, my hotel, as in St. Regis Mumbai, was never closed or shut down. We had a lot of resident guests who were staying inside the hotel all throughout, and they were long stay guests. They were expats. They were Indians as well, from different parts of the country. So we were operational, and what we did was we had a set of people who were made to stay inside the hotel, as in the staff and the associates. They all stayed within the property. They not only stayed within the property, so they were the ones who were literally locked in for about close to 2.5 months. So all throughout the months of April and May last year, they were here. They used to be the ones who would be serving these guests, cleaning their rooms and all of that. And simultaneously, there were a lot of new standards that we had set across as per Marriott. So the first thing that we did is we did launch a lot of new standards across hotels, and this does not only apply to my hotel, it applies to all the Marriott hotels. So we did go across creating some SOPs for everyone, so that there's safety for both associates as well as guests. So when we spoke about these SOPs, we started walking around the entire hotel, and then when we walked around the entire hotel, we figured out that things like the cafeteria, things like areas like the locker rooms, areas like let's say which are high impact in terms of elevators, the service elevators, and all of these areas, the guest elevators as well. They had to be revamped in a certain way where we like to ensure that there was social distancing simultaneously. So we had to go across to each and every area, reduce the seating capacity in the cafeteria, go down to like 50%. So where we would accommodate about 100 people in the cafeteria for lunch or dinner, it had to be a 50-seater cafeteria. We had to ensure that there was a proper system when somebody would go and pick up their food. The whole hygiene standards in terms of their SOPs had to be reworked on. So there was a lot of work that was put in, primarily to understand and reinitiate and retrain people across. So we did that as an initial phase, did all our documentation, put down our SOPs, and once we had an initial discussion with the senior leadership, we said, okay, these are the final SOPs. So even if somebody came to work and had to pick up their uniform for the day, there was a certain standard of going and picking up the uniform, along with the uniform, we realized that, okay, you got to issue masks to everybody. You got to issue, gloves to everybody across departments. So that became a part of the uniform issuing process. Simultaneously, we had to ensure that, locker rooms were sanitized, a couple of times in a day. People were not allowed to keep just personal lockers for themselves. So we had to tell them that, listen, you will utilize your lockers only on a day-to-day basis, so we can sanitize it daily and keep it absolutely neat and clean. This went across all throughout the hotel. Similarly, what we also did was we looked at a rostering kind of a thing for all the associates. So every associate who wanted to come to work was rostered for about 15 days, and if they had to come to the hotel, they had to stay inside the hotel to work. The next set of associates who were sitting at home were called after another 15 days to come in and work. They were picked up by the transportation that was provided by the hotel. They were not, considering it was a lockdown, so there was a car that would go every day, fetch them from their respective residence, and then bring them to the hotel for everybody's safety. And that format continued for a good 4 months. So if I remember correctly, till about September, we continued doing that. We did not stop. And simultaneously, what we did as Marriott, we rolled out something known as a commitment to clean for our guests as well. So when it came to commitment to clean is run across internationally, and it's not only about India. Commitment to clean is run across all over Marriott at an Asia Pacific level as well. So today, if a customer or a guest visits any Marriott hotel, he notices the same kind of cleanliness standards that is being followed all across the Marriott group. So as a customer, if I go and visit, let's say, the W Hotel in Goa, I would realize that an associate is cleaning the room following the same standards. So that meant, again, if I was in F&B, I had to follow the standard of using a Virex solution to sanitize my table after every guest came and dined on the table. That meant that if I'm an F&B associate, I'm supposed to be wearing gloves at all times while I'm speaking to guests. I'm supposed to be wearing a mask at all times. I'm supposed to be, at the same time, not handling too much of food, which is normally given to the chefs to handle. So even if it was something where, like in the cafeteria, we did that. We never allowed associates to go and pick up food themselves. We always told the chef that they would serve the food instead, and not have everybody touch ladles across in a cafeteria. So these kind of standards were set across all the Marriott hotels, and similarly for housekeeping. So housekeeping made sure that they would go, and when they're cleaning a room, they would wear a PPE kit and enter the room for having the room serviced. If it was front office, they had to sanitize key cards. In fact, there was a fair amount of investment that went across to set up these standards. Now we had to procure a key sanitizing machine because we use these cards. We had to procure something known as an electrostatic sprayer, because if you walk into a banquet hall, we could not just do a manual kind of a cleaning. So we needed a machine, and that's where we had to buy this electrostatic machine. Utilize this kind of a machine for bigger areas. So if it was a banquet hall, if it was let's say a lobby, we had to utilize that. And then simultaneously what happened is training of staff. So all the material was procured, all the SOPs were made. If my responsibility, if you ask me, was training 550 people in the hotel and making them aware of what the standard is, making them aware of how they're supposed to be doing it. And that's where eventually we said that, okay, everybody is trained, everybody is well aware of the new commitment to clean standards, and this is how we roll it out. We used to have something known as a brand standard audit prior to that. We called it off, and we said that commitment to clean becomes our new brand standard audit. So that's that, and it stays as on date as well. So anybody and everybody who is in the hotel is trained as per commitment to clean. Does it have a difference? Yes, it does. So it does have a major impact, because like if you remember, David was talking to you about a particular set of guests who come to the hotel now and who are giving us a lot of business. they come for staycation purposes, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or sometimes they're here between Mondays and Thursdays also now is gradually picking up. It makes a huge difference. They see us, they are actually coming because their confidence is coming that, oh, we are following certain standards. So that's where we see that business growing. With the banqueting part of it also, we noticed that there are a lot of clients, a lot of guests who are checking with the sales team or the banquet sales team about what kind of standards are you following in terms of cleanliness, what is the food hygiene standard. So that's something which also has really there's a lot of curiosity that's built up amongst guests, and that's where they're asking us how we could assure them that we are following all the necessary standards. So yes, September, October, we saw a little bit of a pickup in trend somewhere towards the month of November when it was Diwali. So we had to also do a lot of packing orders and delivery boxes and things like that. Marriott on Wheels is something like we just discussed. That's taken up a lot of our revenues coming in from Marriott on Wheels. So if you ask us, we're really dependent on the takeaway deliveries that happen through Marriott on Wheels. So that's been our key focus as well. Again, following all the necessary standards, because that's what is the key focus for us. Sometimes there has been a phase where we've had a situation where business is lost because that there's some kind of a compliance which is required. So yes, those instances have happened. However, it's been good because we saw a phase between October, November, December, in fact Jan as well, where these were good months for the hotel to see some kind of revenues trickling in. So it was nice. However, that does not mean the CTC standards have stopped, or it's kind of got a little. It's kind of eased out. In fact, it's become far more stringent now with the second wave that's hit all of us. It's become far more stringent. We did allow associates to travel in between to work. Again, we had to put a full stop to it and then accommodate everybody within the premises. So we've gone back to kind of the same format that we did last year. Again, they're put up in the hotel, staying with us. We roster them accordingly, and there's minimalistic travel. Which is especially for all the down the line staff because of the trains and the challenge that is there. So yes, it's back in terms of banqueting business. I see a trend which is now kind of picking up. It's good to see that. At the same time, it's good to see a lot of staycation business picking up as well on the weekends. So that's another good trend that we can notice. Hopefully, in the coming months, it gets a little better. Having said that, we are very watchful. We are not compromising on any of the cleanliness standards. We are very watchful about associate health from an HR perspective. If you ask me, it's like a daily routine. Even if we are not at work and we're at home, the moment we get to know that there's a slightest of a feeling where an associate is not feeling too good, there's a very strong connect with that associate via the hotel doctor, giving them the necessary medical assistance and so on and so forth. As a best practice, at least in Bombay hotels, all of us have come together. The Marriott hotels have come together as a task force. So David and me from this hotel are part of the task force. That's basically to ensure that there is assistance given out to anybody and everybody, at the drop of a hat. So somebody in another Marriott hotel facing a challenge in terms of medication, this task force comes and they do the necessary requirements, and that's how we've been managing it. So it's been a long 1.5, I won't say 1.5 years, but yeah, 1 year and maybe 3 months that we've seen this kind of a change across. We've not really opened our restaurants. We've just got 2 restaurants operational at this point of time. However, our owners have been very, very supportive in renovating our restaurants. So restaurants have gone under renovation, banqueting has gone under renovation. So it's nice. The banqueting has got a very beautiful facelift to what was there earlier. The restaurants, the 37th floor, like maybe some of you would know, it used to be called the Penthouse Operations, is completely under renovation, and we don't have any of our restaurants operational over there. So that's a complete facelift. The coffee shop has gone for renovation as well. So having said that, there's a lot happening inside the hotel while we're fighting and adhering to so much of compliance and adherence to standards. But at the same time, it's interesting because we know that once things open up, we're very optimistic about the footfalls, and that we can actually get the business coming in, which is great for the industry at the end of the day. So yes, that's a little bit of background of what's been happening here at the last 1 year and 3 months. So the last year,
things are bouncing back. It feels nice. I was just writing down, that you've done so much as Marriott as a group for your guests, but what's commendable, or even more commendable, is how you've taken care of your employees. And hats off to put in so much of effort. I'm sure HR goes through so much of policies and procedures, keeping sure that everyone's at the best of their health, and not for anything else, just to ensure they're actually safe. So hats off, to the Marriott and the entire HR team, really.
Thank you, Delcy. In fact, we had a kind of a situation about 2.5 months ago with we were actually a hotel which was a part of an IPL bubble. So we did have one of the IPL teams staying with us, and we had about 150 employees and interns who were part of the bubble. So as a part of the bubble, it's very difficult because we were one of the only few hotels, and I'm guessing in Bombay, which had interns who were with us. Some of the hotels had discontinued internships. However, we as a hotel decided that we would like to have the internships continue. So the IPL bubble also had a few interns who were a part of the 45-day bubble, and it is commendable to see the kind of commitment, and because when you're in a bubble, it's not easy. You quarantine or isolate yourself 10 days prior to the players coming in, and you're literally isolated in those parts of the hotel where you can't even move out of your room. So it was nice to see those associates, interns all blend and all come together as a team, support each other, and that was great. In fact, as sitting outside the bubble, we saw a lot of leadership qualities coming out in some of our management level who are inside the bubble. So it was a good change, and they had to follow a lot of norms as well.
So if you could just, because I know you have spoken to me about the bubble, but I know a lot of them, including our staff, may not know. So if you could just elaborate on what is the bubble concept.
So IPL, I'm sure everybody knows how the IPL, the T20 works. So IPL this year, since it was held in Mumbai, we had a lot of teams who were put up in Mumbai hotels, and we were hosting the Rajasthan Royals team, and they were put up here because most of the matches for Rajasthan Royals, the initial phase before they moved to Delhi, the matches were being held at Wankhede Stadium. Now, if I have a team of 20 odd players and plus another 10 or 15 support staff who are going to be living with me for 30 days, they need a designated set of staff who are going to be staying with them and serving food, cooking food, having the rooms cleaned, all of that. So the bubble is basically where you have 2 or 3 floors of the hotel, which is completely sealed only for these players and the staff. So if I am not part of that bubble, I cannot enter that floor. It's completely, so we had to put a lot of partitions, we had to close areas. So from an engineering perspective, the chief engineer literally had to shut down a few elevators, saying that, oh, this is only for the players, this is only for those associates who are going to be serving the players. So we had to do all of that. So let's say if I'm at the lobby, I had one part of the lobby which had a partition. The partition was clearly saying that the other side of the partition was for those players and those associates who are part of the IPL. So that was how we created a bubble. So if suppose they had to go and use a meeting facility, that meeting facility for 45 days was, one of our banquet halls was blocked only for them. So if banquets, so there was a team of associates who were shortlisted from everywhere, whether it was IT, whether it was engineering, whether it was a person from F&B, kitchen. So all of them, what happened is they had to be part of this particular bubble for like 45 days. The team was here for about 30 days. However, the staff had to quarantine 15 days prior, had to go through multiple tests in terms of your COVID testing to see if they were fit enough to actually be a part of the bubble for 45 days. And we had 150 staff who were like actually shortlisted, who were sent into the bubble, and we were of course inside the hotel, but we could not access those areas. So if somebody had to use the business center was given to the Rajasthan Royals team, and it was part of the bubble. So if I'm even standing in the lobby, I did not have access to come into the business center. It was completely sealed. So we had to create these pathways all across, right from the entrance of the hotel. So if the team bus had to come in, they would use a certain pathway to actually get into their rooms, and that applied to the staff as well. So yes, they'd play a match, they'd come back. So imagine a chef cooking food for them at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning, room service delivering orders at 4 o'clock in the morning. So there were different floors where we had created different, small kind of departments. Like there was a kitchen that was created at one floor. There was a laundry facility created at one floor. There was a set of a pantry set up at one floor. And for the associates, there was like a recreation center created at one floor. For 45 days, if I'm going to be locked in, where I could go play some board games. I have nothing to do when the match is going on at Wankhede. What am I going to do here? So we had created a kind of recreation area for them so that they could go and just relax and, get some time out. Most importantly, every day we virtually connected with all of them. So we kind of just to keep them, motivated and not let them feel a little left out. We virtually connected. So people who are outside the bubble, all of us would talk to them virtually. A lot of people went through a little bit of a phase where they felt, oh, I'm very upset, I don't know what to do, I'm getting frustrated sitting inside this bubble. But that call really helped, because we would talk to them, and then they would of course get a little bit feel better and get back to work simultaneously. So that was nicer. So yes, tough phase. However, we pulled it off successfully, and at the end of the day, it gave the hotel a lot of value in terms of as a brand. And of course, at the end of the day, it also kept, when business was down, that was something which kept us going. So yes, the reliability on IPL, the reliability today on shoots, film shoots, has really increased. If you ask me today, at this point of time, there is a crew of about 100 people shooting for Netflix in the hotel. There's some Netflix crew that is around. So all of this has been some of the revenue generating areas for us in the last. So we never thought of it. Maybe 1 year back or 1.5 years back, we only relied on the expats traveling to hotels, investment bankers. That's how we looked at it. Now we're relying on every little small chunk of business that comes on our plate, and we have to just capitalize on it.
But business is coming in, and that itself is a good, like I said earlier, that it's a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, that light that is there. It's like when you said Netflix, and I was thinking St. Regis is a typical business hotel, and staycation happening, and the promotional activities on that, Netflix coming in. So at least business is coming in. There's something to look forward for. That is something that's really nice to hear.
Absolutely, and with like I mentioned, the owners being so supportive, where we're going through a lot of upgrading of our venues and banqueting facilities. I only see a lot of positive things happening now in the coming months, and that's the way I see the mall. In fact, the mall is going through a lot of renovation. So somewhere, I'm sure there is a hope saying that things will come back to normal soon and things will be, you know, far more better than what it is right now. So let's gear up for that and let's be ready. So somewhere, you know, I see for all the students who are sitting at home right now, uh, there's a lot of change happened in the industry, and it's great to actually look at things very differently, because all of us operated in a very standard format in so many years. And like, I never thought that I could get so many people to on a virtual format while I was conducting training. Similarly, you know, today the way we operate, we are also cautious about social distancing, and I'm sure when these students also come and start work, we as hoteliers, you know, would of course want to continue this trend of, you know, being cautious, and because you never know. So I think it's a good phase for all of them to actually start off in hotels, because it automatically gives them that kind of a game changer which is expected. So it's nice.
As long as the citizens take care of their health and the cases reduce, I think places like Dubai have already opened up completely. So I think India also, with the government rules coming off, weekends coming back. Every time I see on Instagram, people on weekends are just flying to Lonavala or somewhere to the other. So everywhere there's Swiggy going, there's Zomato bikers everywhere. So food is never going to go off. People are wanting to order at any point of time. So that looks good, as long as we as citizens take care, follow the rules, and I'm sure the government will open up everything soon.
Yeah, true. And you know, I see a big change from the customer's perspective. You know, today a customer or a guest does not mind if you walk up as an employee and tell him or her that kindly wear a mask, you know, kindly maintain social distance. The restaurant is full, you need to wait for a table. They've actually become far more patient. So uh, for example, as part of the standard, if I sanitize a table for the next 5 minutes, I'm not supposed to seat the next guest on that table. I'm supposed to wait for that disinfectant to have, you know, an impact where it would actually have that entire table sanitized, and then I can have the next customer seated. So there's a long waiting outside the restaurants at times on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the hotels running full. We see a long wait at the breakfast area. So people are willing to wait. So that trend, you know, earlier where, oh, I've come for breakfast, I'm in a hurry, that has stopped, that has changed. So it's nice. I mean, I think somebody who would now step into the industry would see this kind of a change or a shift that has happened. Today I noticed, a guest who's far more patient, even if food is taking time, because he's assured that we are following all the standards, even if sometimes rooms are not ready. So we've kind of explained to them that, listen, if the checkout happened, we keeping a gap of about 24 hours prior to giving you the room again. And that's where, if it's not that the room is not ready, it's just that we are waiting because we've actually disinfected that room properly. So we are waiting for that, and you might need to wait for an hour. So they're willing to wait. So that entire shift that we see today is great, because at the same time, we never thought of it earlier. Earlier, everybody was in a hurry. Oh, my rooms are not ready. What is this? I'm not going to be waiting here in the lobby. Uh, Today, if, for example, we are not allowed to operate with restaurants after 4 p.m., the non-resident guests are not allowed post 4 o'clock as on today. However, if you request everybody at 3:30, place your last order and please leave, they're happy to do that. There are times we still have, people walking in at 5 o'clock and 6 o'clock, midnight, asking for a meal. Uh, Politely have been just refusing, because we are adhering to the norms, and that's how it stays as of now. Uh, Business lost, yes, when you see big banqueting functions where we are actually curtailing ourselves to about 50 people, and sometimes it's 100 people and things like that. uh, it's a part of the current trend, so you can't do much. There are certain things that work in our favor, certain things that don't. uh, since you mentioned the brand of St. Regis, there are times that we can't really uh, compromise on certain standards. We can't really drop our room rates or banqueting rates or restaurant rates compared to competition hotels, and which is fair. We can't do that. So that's where we accept the fact that the business goes to a competing hotel, which is perfectly fine. But yes, adherence to the standards is something that has been a key for us.
Said about swapping of plates, I'm just going to say this bit that one of my students, who's now in the third year, and we were doing a research because industrial training was replaced by research, and part of this research was asking, in the survey, whether you would prefer a cheap hotel or whether you would prefer a higher rated hotel as long as they follow the hygiene. And around 80% people prefer a higher rated hotel as long as the hygiene is followed. So I think you're right when you say that, it's okay to, when you're saying the St. Regis brand, when you hear that, you're like, oh, there's no compromise on standards or hygiene. And it's okay if it's a little expensive because people will come to that.
Absolutely. And, I think, like you mentioned, if I reach out to a destination or let's say a Marriott hotel in Mahabaleshwar, they are completely full on all days. So, people are happy, I think, to step out of the city. The trend here is more of Friday, Saturday, Sunday that we can notice at this point of time. That's okay. Between a Monday and a Thursday, we of course are relying a lot on in-house resident kind of events. So if I have a wedding which is in the hotel, we are insisting on those guests staying in the hotel. So for instance, today yesterday there was an event which was a corporate event as well. Again, we had a good amount of rooms, 50 rooms where people were staying in house. Similarly for a wedding. So it just makes it far more simpler rather than having any kind of surprises later when you notice that we've not adhered to the norms. And I think today everybody understands it's about their safety as well, not only guests, even for the employees who are around. So that's become the primary concern, because it's quite a challenge at times. Like if you ask me, David and me become like the policemen around the hotel when it comes to staff and associates. So it's literally walk into the cafeteria, all of a sudden you'll see some culinary commie sitting there with 6 people on a table and nicely enjoying lunch, and you got to go and tell them and spank them and tell them that, listen guys, sit separately. It's about a table of 4 or a table of 2. Gone are the days when you're going to be dining in 6 and 8 and 10 all sitting and huddling up together. It's not going to happen. We've got to, and that's been constant. Our elevators, because it's a 38 floor building, is a big challenge. I've got nothing less than sometimes 8 and 10 people getting into an elevator. You literally got to shunt them out and throw them out of the elevator, because it's about each other's safety. And with me, it's very funny. In fact, the moment I walk in the back areas, I notice staff, they start wearing their mask, they'll pull it up, and then, they'll get conscious about the fact that somebody's watching them. So it's a little strange, but yeah, but it's important. So if today in the morning I walked in, I had 6 managers of a particular department sitting on one table and nicely having chai at 8:45. And I was like, really? I mean, you guys don't realize that 6 of you sitting without social distancing together. I mean, how would you expect, a down the line associate to follow the norms then? I mean, we guys have to be the role models eventually. And that's all across. If I walk into the hotel today to work, every day, there's a temperature check that's carried out. There's an oximeter check that's carried out, and the Arogya Setu app. So the moment, let's say my oxygen or my oximeter check is not as per expected norms, I'm sent back home. I'm either sent back home, or if I have the slightest of a feeling where, I'm not feeling too good, I'm isolated. Or I'm asked to either isolate at home, or if I'm put up in the hotel, then, it's a separate room where we're isolating. But I think because we've been so strict over the last couple of months, we're sitting at a stage where I can proudly say that, 0 cases in my hotel, and it's been like this for the last 2.5, 3 months, where I noticed that, great, it's okay. Somebody needs rest, sit at home, fine, take leave, no issues, but don't unnecessarily, stress yourself by coming to work and making things worse. So that's been the messaging that's been going across to everybody. Hotel is busy, you manage, it's about, you have 50% of your team members who are been asked to take leave, sit at home because of traveling issues. Some are back in their villages. Perfectly okay. The hotel still operates. We don't say no to any part of the business. So that's how it is.
There's this very nice message from our third year student Ishita, and she mentions, "Good afternoon, sir. I'm Ishita Halwai. I've done 2 months training at St. Regis, and I've learned so much in the past 2 months and also gained confidence. Thank you so much, sir, and Tapasya ma'am, for everything. We're happy to see you again through this webinar."
Thank you so much, Ishita, and I'm glad that you had a great learning experience here. We honestly for Tapasya and me, if the interns are not around, we feel like, oh my God, there's nothing happening. So it's just like because there's so much of energy around the moment you see, you have about 50, 60, sometimes it's more than that in my hotel. And the interns are always around, so there's lots to catch up with them. There's lots to talk about. So otherwise you wonder, what is this? I mean, all of a sudden we feel like, oh, things are getting a little slow. But it'll be nice to see them back again because I think hopefully if once
We're
whatever
working on
university.
it, yeah.
Sorry.
We're working, so Tapasya and we're working on that.
Great.
So I don't see any more questions, Ashish. There's so much of learning, I think, not just for the students. I know for a fact as a staff also, there's so much that, we picked up from this webinar. Thank you so much once again for just agreeing, because I know how it is, like you've been policing around standards, SOPs, creating them really. So a big thank you for giving this time for us.
Not at all. Pleasure. In fact, it's always lovely to connect with all of you, and and I personally feel that this is a great phase. So no student should ever feel that the hotel industry is down in the dumps. That's not the case. Things would improve. Things would get back. We are very optimistic. We're seeing the trend already picking up, and it's nice for us to get that part of the business back. And it's just a matter of time. So, we, in fact, on the recruitment front also, although things are at a standstill, it doesn't mean that we are not looking at CVs, we are not keeping our data bank ready, nothing of that sort. We are scouting around, keeping our data bank ready. So the moment things open up, we'll connect with everyone. So that's something which, and it's important that each student stays very positive about the fact that things would open up and things would get back to normal. We can see it because we are inside the hotel. We are interacting with multiple departments like sales, and they give us this kind of a feeler that where they also feel positive that business is coming in. So it's about time. It's just about a few more months maybe that we could see, let's say, travel gets back to where it was, and then you not normally see the way hotels used to be booming earlier. That would happen. So it's about staying optimistic. And just on that note, if any student ever wishes to reach out, talk to any of us here, feel free. If just drop in a note, we're happy to connect. So that's perfectly okay. If I need to take out David's time, I'm happy to do that. With me, you can connect anytime, so that's not an issue.
Thank you so much. I think it's a huge relief to end this seminar or webinar on a positive note that, it's not the end and it's coming back, it's bouncing back, it's bound to come back once travel starts.
Thank you.
Thank you
everyone.
So much, Ashish. Yeah. Kainaz, I think we're done. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Delcy, for organizing the webinar.
I'm sure. Yes. In fact, I know Ma'am Rukshana is there, and if if she would have had it, she would have told me that to tell you specifically that thank you so much from her side as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You take care and stay safe, all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Shetty, for your valuable insights. This is Team Webinar signing off. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.